What is good wrist action? Well, there are two key things we want from how our wrists work. One is it's a major contributor to the speed of the club head at impact. So it's absolutely vital to how far we hit the ball. Number two is that it's the main influence on the club face angle, which is of course the main influence on the direction of our shots. So to have control of our shots, we need to have control of the club face. So we want two things. We want a reasonably controlled, reasonably square face at impact, and we want lag or an angle in the wrists that we can then release at impact so that we can get the club head speed. Now most people use the lead wrist or the glove hand to look at wrist angles, and if we do this, it's actually very hard to describe what good wrist action is, and you can't really put a blanket statement over all golfers. A large reason for that is because of the grip. If we have a very strong grip to begin with, we may find that a good wrist position at the top would be a very cupped wrist. On the other hand, if you had a reasonably weak grip, a better wrist position at the top for you might be a more bowed wrist. And then potentially, of course, a neutral grip might suggest we need a flat wrist. But this also depends on how we release the club. So there again is no one blanket statement that will guarantee good wrist action. On the other hand, if we were to use the right wrist, we can quantify slightly more easily what that wrist should do. And it's very simple. We need to create the angle that you could call lag, which is what we're going to release through impact to get the speed up. So we know that we have to create an angle. And if we use the right hand to create the angle, by hinging the right wrist straight backwards, we'll notice that the club face doesn't actually rotate open. A very common move would be to use the left wrist to create the angle. And when we do that, you'll notice that the face instantly rolls open as we hinge. So if we're going to create an open club face and hold that late into the downswing, direction may be an issue. On the other hand, if we're going to create our angle for the lag, but the club face is still square, direction is going to be much less of an issue. So what we'd like to do is say good wrist action is to focus on the right wrist instead of the left and simply hinge the wrist straight backwards away from the target. So if you create that to begin with without moving the body at all and then swing to the top without changing it, wherever you are at the top is going to be a good position. Now we need to learn how to create this wrist angle at some point in the swing and not just at setup. But where it happens is also different for different golfers. Some golfers do better by hinging a little bit earlier, and a lot of golfers will be better off hinging later. But that's more a process of elimination. Try one, try the other. If one of the extremes work, then that's your swing thought. You may find that it's somewhere in between. But the key point here is, very simply, use the right wrist to look at the action, hinge it straight backwards, maintain that angle late into the downswing, and then release the club through impact.